health compliance. Solid Waste does interpret and enforce the Maricopa County Health Code. So we keep all commercial businesses, industrial businesses within the city of Glendale in compliance with that, and we do so through our commercial services. So we do enforce that code via our commercial solid waste services. There is city-required services. Years ago, we used to service all multifamily units. Now we provide that as an optional service. But if townhomes, condos, or mobile home parks are owned by the individuals, they are required by state code to be serviced by the city, and so we do provide those services. And the other things we do with this service is we do service city buildings and parks. So this building, City Hall, is serviced by commercial solid waste services, parks, and then we also provide solid waste services to special projects and events that do go on within the city of Glendale or for other city departments. So a lot of our special events that we do, commercial solid waste services does those for the city. Now I'm going to turn this over to Amy Moreno, our superintendent of solid waste, and she'll go through what these services are in detail and provide you with those information.
Thanks, Ms. Montego.
No, now you're off.
You guys hear me, Mayor and Council? No?
Hold the microphone.
There we go. How about that? Nope.
Yeah, pull yourself up a bit. Or use the other one.
There we go. Can you hear me now? There we go. Okay, Mayor and Council, the first part of our commercial services is front load. This service is the most effective, cost-effective way of providing services to the commercial community. Some of our commercial customers, their types are general small businesses, restaurants, bars, automotive repair shops, multifamily units, and also city services, as Ms. Montego I'll let you know about. In 2017, we started to see an increase in our customer accounts, but in 2020, due to the COVID pandemic, we did lose accounts due to businesses having to close. Some were temporary, some have been permanent. Our service customer rep has increased our accounts by 3% since then, which might seem a bit low. But these small businesses are still struggling with the ongoing pandemic, so she's doing what she can to get those back online. So our front load has a very complex rate structure with about 90 different rate options that are based on bin sizes, which can range from a 2 cubic yard up to an 8 cubic yard bin. Also, it's based on the frequency of collection of these bins, so the number of days serviced in the week that can range from once a week to 6 times a week that are serviced Monday through Saturday, and then also the number of bins on the same property. The rate history in 2008 for front load, they were adjusted by 10% on 2 and 3 cubic yard bin, and also a 6% increase for 4, 6, and 8 cubic yard bins. In 2019, this council did hear the rate review in which you approved in 2020 a rate adjustment of 10% for all service and fees, and another 2.5% rate increase in 2021. We did at that time tell you we would come back for another rate review, in which we're doing that right now. The second component of the commercial services is roll-off. Ms. Montego did touch on how residents do use this service for remodeling, landscaping purposes, but a base of our customers is business, so this is a rental type service. This is an on-call service, but we do have customers that are on a regular weekly, daily type schedule. In fiscal 21, we did have 172 total customers. 95 of those are permanent customers, so which means that they have a bin on site continuously, and we are providing those weekly, daily type services. We do have 30 city customer service. And then also that year we had 47 temporary customers. So those are basically the residents that are calling in for needed services for the remodeling and landscaping projects. Depending on the customer's needs, we do have several different sizes. So we range from a 10-yard container up to a 40-yard container. As I previously mentioned, a roll-off is an on-call type service Monday through Friday with a rate base that's per charge regardless of the container size. So no matter whether you have a 10-yard or a 40-yard, that service fee is the same no matter what container size. And then also there is a second fee for the disposal fee per ton. The roll-off rate history, in 2008, there was adjustment to the rate. 2013, another adjustment as well, not only to the pull service fee, but also to the disposal fee. In 2019, we did a rate review with you, which you approved a rate adjustment from a service fee from $175 to $199.50. And a disposal fee tonnage rate it went from $20 per ton up to $25.50. You also approved a 2021 adjustment. The service fee went from $199.95 to $204.49, and the disposal fee rate increased from $25.50 to $26.50. And then we did provide that we would come back for another rate review in 2022. It could always be asked to discontinue the service. So there's potential impacts if we do that. So to our internal service, which would be the city, we do provide city services to city buildings, parks, water treatment plants, special events, and projects. Not all of these charges for these services are recovered by the general fund. So the commercial revenues that are generated by a servicing the business community covers these charges. If the city had to outsource these services based on private hauler rates that we could find, because again, they don't have to post them, they're private haulers, they could potentially cost the city an estimated $800 million annually to provide the service. Sorry. Not 8 million, $800,000 to provide that service. I know that was a big number. There could be an impact to the residential rate if we discontinue the commercial services. And also, the service that we provide also covers our internal charges. So the internal charges, those are what we pay other city departments for services such as the city attorney's office, human resources, and our customer service. So if the commercial business went away, then that would have to be absorbed as well, which could potentially impact the residential rate. For our external.
I just have a question, Mayor, if I could. You pay city departments or they pay you?
Same as we do.
Mayor, council members, Councilmember Tomelshoff, every city department has what we call indirect cost allocation, and within the enterprise funds pay back to the general fund their proportionate share of those kind of overhead type services. It's payroll, it's the attorneys.
Things like that,
Yeah.
okay. So, Mayor, just so I could have an understanding though, say, obviously you pick up the trash at FRAC, for example. Do you bill the other side of the ledger for those services as well, or is that just all absorbed by whatever rates you're charging? Like an interdepartment, you know, I'm just curious. I don't know how the system works, so do you?
Mayor, council members, Councilmember Tomelshoff, I don't know specifically about FRAC. Some locations are billed. So if solid waste does something, commercial solid waste does something for the landfill, we do bill that. to general funds, we don't. We track it, but there is no bill that actually takes place. FRAC, I don't specifically know.
Okay, Mayor, so basically our commercial rates cover the cost of the internal services that you're providing, essentially?
Yes.
Okay,
Mayor
thank
and
you.
Council,
I
that's
didn't know
correct.
that.
Mr. Melner, did you want to ask your question now?
Yeah. My question has to do with, and you've kind of answered it in part, how competitive are these rates, the commercial rates, the roll-off rates, for example?
Mayor and council members, Councilmember Melnar, the private sector doesn't publish their rates. So we really don't know. We did present this to our Citizens Utility Advisory Commission, and during that time frame, one of the commissioners mentioned he owns a small business and he has city service, but he did call from the time we told him where we posted the agenda till we actually went there. He called and he said that it would cost him 18% more to go with a private hauler versus us. Now, that's a very isolated incident. As Ms. Moreno said, the last time we raised our rates, we saw a couple customers go away. We don't compete well with the large national accounts. We won't have a Walmart. We won't have places like that. But we want to be in the business to provide those small businesses with a good competitive option.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to throw one thing in. When I had my trailer business, I many times I would use the city of Phoenix, but I would find a lot of these private companies would come in knowing what those published costs were and undercut them dramatically to get the business. And then after a year, surprisingly, you had these massive increases. Within a year and a half, 2 years, you're paying quite a bit more. And it was consistent all the time. It was just a ploy that a lot of the salespeople did with the different private companies. So I'm certainly in favor of keeping what we have now. I'm certainly have no problem with the price increases that you're going to be talking about. But that's one of the things that I know is common. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just common. It's sort of what the game is.
If I may continue, Mayor, one other question I had was, do you offer these services only for within the boundaries of the city of Glendale, or do you go outside the city limits?
Mayor and council, we stay within our boundaries.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. My only question has to do with neighborhoods. From time to time, a neighborhood will want to do a cleanup of their area, and they'll ask for a roll-off container. We typically charge them. Is there any way that we can figure out something that would be attractive to neighborhoods so that we encourage them to do neighborhood cleanups?
Mayor and council members, Councilmember Clark, that was a discussion I had with Jean Marino, Director of Community Services. Was that something we could offer? It might help mitigate bulk trash or, more importantly, illegal dumping. So we were discussing that. We were hoping to bring that forward at a later date, but we are discussing an option like that.
Thank you. I think that would be much appreciated because in the past, there have been neighborhoods that have wanted to do a cleanup and then they found out it would cost them, you know, a couple $100, and they didn't have the money collectively to pay for that. And I know in a couple of instances I paid for it out of my council budget. But if we really want to encourage any kind of beautification in Glendale, and if neighborhoods are willing to do it, I think we need to incentivize them. Thank you.
Yeah, and so we don't get off track, I would like that to come up as a topic in the future, special neighborhood cleanups, but specifically where the roll-offs will be brought out just for a weekend, not left for a week or something like that, where you encourage people to fill it up when that wasn't the intention. So in the future, I'd like you to bring that back.
So for our external customers, our role is to cover our cost. And by doing so, we can provide a service to the community that's fair and competitive. And you guys talked about communities, and that's part of it as well. And then also with the Maricopa, the health code, in order to investigate and enforce those, if the business went away, then that staff would have to be funded through our residential rates. So again, that could impact our residents. And then I did talk about the indirect cost of that. Again, that could be a potential impact to the residents if the service does go away. During the rate review you heard with residential, we talked about major cost factors. And when we reviewed this rate structure, we also found that those same major cost factors were impacting commercial as well. So just to kind of review some of the residential information that we talked about, their increases for salary and employee costs, that increased by 19%. Landfill cost increased by 27%. The cost for equipment increased by 24%. And then the insurance and indirect costs increased by 54%. These are the similar major cost factors that are impacting the ability for the commercial rate to cover their cost, as well as to fund timely CIP, the capital improvement projects, which are basically equipment purchases. So these are our proposed rates. This slide can be a bit confusing, so what I'd like to do is first focus on front load. So going all the way down, starting from year 2022. And again, because that rate structure is very complex with 90 different pricing options, we wanted to show you an overall percentage rate increase. So for front load in 2022, we're asking for a 10% increase. 2023, an 8% increase going down. 2024, a 7% increase. In 2025, a 5% increase. And 2026, a 5% increase.
So, Mayor and Council, I do want to apologize. This will be posted online later today. What we did was we wanted to make sure that we went back and we adjusted all our future allocations in accordance with what Budget and Finance did, seeing the current inflation. And so this table actually just got, will just be posted here shortly, but it should be in your paper packet of things you have. Just make sure everybody's got that table with them.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
thank you. I heard just the other day that we can expect an inflation rate of around 10%. Do these figures reflect the latest expectations in terms of inflation rate for the nation?
Mayor and Councilmember Clark, these inflationary forecasts that we have are consistent with what Budget and Finance presented to you 2 weeks ago. And we rely on them to look at all those different indicators of what inflation is doing in the future. So we do have 5 years of inflation built in. I can't remember specifically what the first couple of years is, but I know we looked at current, what we've already seen over this first 6 months, and where we see trends going. But we did it in accordance with their inflationary rates that they presented to you 2 weeks ago.
I guess it's a better question for Budget and Finance at this point to see if they are now considering an even higher inflation rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. On your slide, where's the page number? The one where you talk current rate review. What were you said the salary employee costs were increased 19% since the last rate adjustment? Is that what was the time frame for that 19%?
So those numbers, those increases that I talked about, those were in the residential presentation we did provide. So although the commercial costs are not as high, they are still what's driving the off balance to be a cost recovery fund.
Okay, Mayor, if I could continue, what are the increase in the landfill costs?
Mayor, council members, Councilmember Tomaszov, We are looking at raising what we have increased tonnage at the landfill, and so solid waste pays landfill per ton, and we want to make sure that our landfill is funded for the future as well, so we are looking at how can we increase those costs. We just presented to council the gate rate review, and now we're looking at internal rates as well. So there is an increased tonnage that's going to the landfill.
Mayor, so are we going to take a look at tipping fees, or at least as our IGAs and other obligations that we have with other customers that just literally are landfill customers, are we going to be looking at those rates as well?
Mayor, Councilmembers, Councilman Trump, yes, we are.
Okay.
We're currently doing that,
All
yes.
right, thank you.
So this, again, is a 5-year increase that we're proposing. So for the roll-off rates, because it is based on a pulled service charge and a disposal tonnage free, we did include the exact costs for increases for each of those. So we're asking in 2022 to increase the pull charge rate to $225 and the disposal rate per ton to $29. In 2023, the pull charge would go to $240 and the disposal rate fee to $30. And then all previous years down from there, the pull charge rate would increase $10 and the disposal rate $1 per year as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So the pull rate basically is the rate for delivery and pickup of the bin?
To pick it up and to dump it.
Okay.
Councilmember.
I just have a question, and I've only ever had occasion to use one of these one time, but I was warned by somebody who knew better to get the big one because people can't put, if you get those smaller ones, people can fill it up with heavy things because they're easy to get in there. But if you got to raise stuff up over your head, it's harder for people to dump concrete and other things. You know, it's out in front of your house and you're remodeling or whatever, and there's a bunch of things in there that you didn't put in there. So I'm just curious, like how often, I mean, do we need all these different size containers? Do we often use like the 10, 20, 30, or what is the use on these different size containers?
Mayor and Council, the 10-yard container, we like to use that for a lot of the construction where they do have heavy material, concrete, rock, because they could only put a certain amount in it, and that way it still keeps us within our legal weight to be able to haul it. So we do use all size bins. The 40-yard container is really great for like you cut down a tree, larger items, furniture, things of that nature that don't weigh as much, but they take up a lot of room.
Yeah, like drywall cabinets and those type of remodels. I mean, you can, but if you use one of the, I mean, you might be able to fit it all in a smaller container, but if it's out in front of your house, then you might find that there's some, you know, you got to pay per ton to dispose of it, and that higher container controls what people can put in there. So I was just curious. So we do use all of them? People want, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council members, Councilmember Talmachoff, our customer service team does a great job, and if a resident's calling in, they'll warn them about that as well, and just that you have to watch the weight. But roofing companies will call and get the small 10-yarder because they'll come in the morning, remove in the afternoon. But a resident will talk to them about getting the higher size, or where do we place them to make sure that it's just your material going in there, your neighbors aren't contributing to it. So they do a phenomenal job of working with residents on just that. So Mayor and Council, our tentative timeline, we did discuss this with the Citizens Utility Advisory Committee, the Commission, in early January of this year. They did give us consensus to move the rates forward to Council for your consideration and approval. The second bullet is City Council review. That's where we are today to present this and discuss it with you. Assuming we get consensus, we are required to post on the city's website for 60 days per Arizona statute. We will do that, and then prior to the rates being effective in April 2022, we'll determine what city council evening meeting, voting meeting that we need to get on to make them effective. But if we get consensus today, it will come back to a voting meeting in March, for approval.
Well, let's find out. Do we have consensus? There you go.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, that was our next slide, and you just helped me out.
There's two of us down here too, Mayor.
Okay. Consensus down there, too?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Unanimous. Okay, item 4, Ms. Power.
Council item of special interest, street renaming policy.
Mayor, members of council, here to provide our final item today for our 4 items is Don Bessler, our Director of Engineering.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. Mayor, members of council, Don Bessler, the engineering director. This is an item that you've seen and heard about before and previously discussed. As background, this item came forward by council member Malnar back in 2020. It was to create a policy that would allow an inclusive process and a formal process for residents, for staff, and for council as it related to the idea of potentially renaming streets. The last, previous to the last time you saw it, we had a workshop on January 12th of 2021. We then came back on December 14th of 2021. At that time, council discussed the policy in pretty good detail, and it seemed like the one issue that you wanted us to go back and work on in the direction that we heard was to come back with some new wording as it related to the legislative process, which would be the process that you all use, and tailor that after the CIOSI process that you use so that council members would have a process they're familiar with and similar to that process. In your packet, you have two drafts of the policy. One is the red line document that shows the changes from the December 14th meeting, and then you have a clean copy with the new language. Again, the substantive changes that it mirrors the CIOSI process, and it calls out that any special direction you give us at a CIOSI update, we would then take forward in whatever measure you asked us to. So that concludes my comments, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
I don't see any questions.
So Mayor, going forward, the next time you would see this would be on a voting meeting of some sort in some fashion. I'm not sure if it's a resolution exactly, but that's where you'll see it formally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, members of the council, yesterday, Mayor Wires and myself attended the kickoff press conference for the Arizona Super Bowl Host Committee. And as part of that event, the NHL announced the start of their Business Connect program. As you recall, we discussed this some time ago.
It sounded like you said NHL. NFL?
You know, NHL's been on my mind, but no, it is NFL.
Okay.
So
I was going to say, because I thought I heard that, but go ahead, sir.
I continue to encourage you to listen to what I think I'm trying to say, not what I'm actually saying. One of the important initiatives of the NFL is to help support local minority and women-owned businesses. And so the Super Bowl Host Business Connect program, it's an official initiative of the NFL, and it's aimed at creating the network, education, and business opportunities for certified women, minority, veteran, LGBTQ-owned businesses. We're going to be asking our Economic Development Department to help implement this program. They'll work in conjunction as well with our Community Affairs to make sure that our businesses are contacted and aware of this. But we think this is going to be an outstanding opportunity for our local businesses to participate in a number of the contracts that'll be issued as we start marching towards the Super Bowl in February of '23. And again, this is just one of the programs that were built into the city's support for Super Bowl 23, and we'll continue to give you updates on when that happens. Perhaps you'll want to be able to promote this in your newsletters and other things to get the word out to the small business community. And that concludes my report on the NHL.
Thank you. City Attorney.
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Council items of special interest. Council has the opportunity to indicate topics they'd like to have discussed by this council in the future. Councilmember Clark, have you any?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hugh.
Nothing, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Milner.
Nothing today, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Tom Chop.
Nothing today, Mayor.
Perfect. Councilmember Turner.
Not today, Mayor.
Vice Mayor's not here, and I am not going to mess up what you guys started. So we have no executive today, is that correct? Okay, so with that, unless anybody just wants to have an executive session, I guess our council meeting is recessed.
What's wrong with that?